Alrighty, hi y'all. I'm Qatar and I'm going to be showing you how to make some follow me toony eyes. I know there's a lot of tutorials out there about how to make them, but a lot of them, like, I followed them and they don't end up looking very nice, and I kind of recently discovered something that is kind of important that a lot of the tutorials leave out. So this is one that I made a while ago. As you can see, it kind of works like the follow me effect, but then you turn it this way and it doesn't really work that well. Took me a while to figure out that it needs to be more centered and it needs to be more deep. So that's what I did with this one, and I think it works a lot better. It's not perfect, but it's much better. So yeah. First thing you are going to need is your see-through material. I'm using Buckram. I think you can use, I don't know. Next thing you need is the white part. You can make this also out of Buckram, but it looks a lot nicer if you use like a white material. I'm using Foamies. I've seen people use plastic. You can use that. Next, you can do your eyelash material. Even if your character doesn't have eyelashes, I recommend at least kind of outlining the eye with something. Normally I use black. I don't have it black right now, so I'm using purple, which is the color of my character's hair. And as far as materials go for this, right now I'm using fleece. Normally I use felt, but I don't have any felt. I've also seen people use like a vinyl. Use that too. You're gonna need some scissors. You need something to write with. You're gonna need a template of your eye. Always helps. Stay very, very rough draft. That's always nice. I don't think you need it. If you think you can wing it, go for it. And then you're gonna need something to paint the color of the eye. This is gonna sound really, really cheap. I actually just use Sharpies. I don't sell my suits. I just make them for personal use. So as long as you're not selling them, you could use Sharpies. I will say for the little like highlight, I use paint for that. If you are selling this or you want, you know, like a nicer quality looking thing, I definitely recommend paint pens. They're very easy to use. And I think that's it. Okay. Oh, you need glue. Need some glue. And you need something. Did I mention scissors? I don't know. You need something to cut it with. Some people use an X-Acto knife. I prefer scissors. Yeah. So the first thing you need to do is to trace your template, if you have one, on your whatever you're using for the whites of your eyes. If you're just using Buckram, you could just do this on your Buckram. So I'm gonna trace this. Alright, and now I'm gonna cut it out. Alright, and if you're doing two eyes, what you can do to speed it up is you can fold the material and then cut. I'm just making one eye just to demonstrate, so I won't be doing that. Alright, and then the next thing you want to do is you want to get the shape of the iris. So you can cut out the iris part, but I don't really feel like doing that right now. So I just like to kind of draw a plus to kind of help me help guide myself. And then it's probably easier if you're using an X-Acto knife for this part. I just bend it and I cut. And I slide the scissors through. And then I keep cut. Okay, next thing you want to do is, I recommend flipping it so you don't get all the pen marks on the visible side. You know what, I'm gonna fix that, make it a little wider. Sorry about that, my phone may or may not have ran out of space. So I'm just extending the iris. Oh, also I forgot to mention, you don't necessarily want it to have like have the iris directly in the middle of the eye, because you want to give it like a kind of a focused effect, like it's focused on you. So I like zoom out. No, can't zoom out. Okay. So you see how they're kind of in the middle. It kind of gives it a like looking at you effect. If that makes any sense. Just gonna keep cutting this. Probably move it in frame. That would be nice. So next thing you want to do is you want to cut out Buckram and fit it to. I need to move this. I'm sorry. And fit it to the iris shape. So I can kind of memorize that. So I just, nope, it's attached to me. So I just kind of cut out a big chunk, and I can probably use a little more. Okay. And then I shape it. It doesn't have to be perfect. Do make sure you have like enough room on the, like around here, so that you can actually have room to like glue it on. Okay. Now that you have it shaped, it's time for the fun part, which is the drawing. Like I said, I definitely recommend using paint pens, but mine dried out, so I am currently working with Sharpie. So I'm just gonna kind of get a rough estimate of the pupil, and I like to start small so that if I need to, I can just get bigger, because it's much easier to do that than to replace your Buckram or whatever you're using. I just got colored in. Does not look very good. Okay, so I don't like how small it is, so so I'm going to little uneven. There we go. So I'm just going to increase the size. I like to draw lines to kind of help guide me. I think I mentioned that earlier. If you have like a oh gosh, I don't know what they're called. They're like a circle template. Those are really nice. I do not have one. I do recommend buying one because it's much easier to use a template than to freehand. Okay. I think the shape is okay. It's a little uneven. Let me adjust that. Looks okay. I'm not going to be using this eye for anything, solely just for the tutorial. So I'm going to go in with my color, and actually I don't need this. I'm just gonna color around. Ooh, I should have used this for my green. Used another color. Okay. Now that the color is done, fit it. And if it looks okay, then it's cool. So the next thing you want to do is to glue it together. I forgot to warm up my glue gun, so I'm going to do that real quick. Okay, I just decided while I wait for the glue gun to warm up, I'm going to cut out the strips that you use to make the eye bead. So, before I would only use a size about like that. However, I've learned that you should go about that size if your eye is about this size. I think with smaller eyes you could get away with using less, but I definitely recommend using just make it super thick. Worst case scenario, it's too big and you just gotta resize it. It's easier to cut than to just make a new one. So I'm gonna cut out a strip, and I don't have an exact like measurement, so I'm just gonna cut a bunch and then I'll trim it if I need to. And since my gun is still warming up, I'm going to cut out the eyelashes. I'm using fleece right now. Don't really recommend it because of how flimsy it is. I would say either vinyl or fleece. So I'm just gonna take my eye and I'm gonna adjust this real quick. I don't like the pointiness. I don't like the shape of it in general, honestly. So, I don't even know what to piece it with. Okay. Excuse me. I'm just gonna trace out like a general, I don't think I have enough room on this little sheet. I think I'm gonna have to get some more in a second. Just grab the whole sheet. Might as well. Okay, so I've gotten the whole sheet. I've got my eyeball. That's the glue gun there. Okay, so I'm just gonna out like a general shape. I am a big fan of kind of the exaggerated like cat eye look. Yours can look whatever you'd like it to look like. I'm just a fan of that, and that's what I'm going to be doing. And I will say when you're tracing this out, be sure to make it bigger than you want. Again, because if you can just trim it. Okay. So I'm going to cut that. Got my rough template, got my eyeball, got a little Okay. So now I just kind of get, like, see a rough estimate of how big the eye is, so then I cut a hole in the middle. Actually, if you're doing a static eye, you can skip this whole strip part and just immediately go to the eyelashes. I'm not a very big fan of the static eye. But if you're into it, then do that. So I don't like using a fleece for the eyelashes because of how flimsy it is. Okay, so just line it up. Normally I'll glue it on and then kind of cut around it, but I can't glue it on yet, so I'm just gonna cut now. And like, don't be afraid if you like make a mistake. It's like, I make a lot of mistakes. It's just, it's natural when with the territory of fursuit making. Gonna make a lot of mistakes, especially if you're a beginner. But it's okay, because we all gotta start somewhere. I had to clear up some space yet again. So while I did that, I glued the Buckram, and then I also glued that strip that we made around the edges of the eye. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to glue the eyelashes on. Now this is what really kind of shapes the eye. So like, if the shape of the actual eye isn't necessarily how you want it, you can kind of manipulate the shape and make it look kind of how you want just by using the eyelashes. Get it on there properly. So I'll go ahead and start doing that. And then I'm gonna shape the eyelash, try to make it look a little less choppy. Alright, and your eye is finished. Let's say it's not necessarily the best, but I will kind of put my eye here to kind of demonstrate as an example. That's what I did with this eye. This eye didn't really come out. Maybe it's because I didn't do the whites of the eyes, or just the shape's weird. So yeah, remember to make this wide so you don't end up like this, or it doesn't really work. Maybe if you do that, but yeah, these work much better. Oh, and one thing I forgot to mention, it's a bit harder to do it with lighter color eyes because the color can sleep through, but if you can, color the back of this black because it'll be much easier to see. Let me see if I can give you an example. Like, you see, there's my hands, and then versus this one. I think you can still see, but weird. Oh, might be able to see better through that one. Yeah, I can. There's my hand. Here, I'll put that one as a reference. So there's that. Oh, dropped it. And then there's this one that has like a yellow color. See, it's a lot harder to see. So I didn't color the back of this one because I think the pupil might be good enough to see out of like that. So yeah, I hope this tutorial was a bit useful to you. A little sloppy, I'll admit, but I hope I got my point across. And that's it. See ya.